Casting calls for Spider-Man 4 have started to pop up online over the last couple of weeks. And well, now what we're going to talk about in this video is two major roles that they're casting for the upcoming film, their description, and also what people believe this means for specific characters that could be coming to the MCU. Okay guys, so this is in regards to Marvel Studios and Sony gearing up to shoot Spider-Man 4 later this year. Now obviously they've already added Sadie Sink to the cast, and it's still unknown who she's going to play, although I've covered that in a video or two that you guys can find recommended probably right around now. It's going to be a pop-up, but this is in regards to more cast members that are being looked after, and by all accounts, these are important characters to the film. So we're talking about two roles for this. So let's get into the first one, which is a male in his early 20s who is described as a resourceful young man. Now, obviously, this gives us very, very little to go by. It's literally nothing outside of an age, early 20s, and resourceful young man. So let's take this back a bit. So despite Tom Holland's age, we still know that his Spider-Man is relatively young. He's going to be in his early 20s, meaning that this lines up with Spider-Man's Peter Parker's age. So I'm going to guess that this is a role for Peter's new best friend. Again, he doesn't have Ned anymore. Ned doesn't remember him. He doesn't have Michelle anymore. MJ, she doesn't remember him. He's got a whole new life. Chances are he's going to make some new acquaintances in his personal life, whether he's in school or doing whatever, or, whatever his job is. He's going to make some acquaintances. I'm going to guess that this is that character. It's going to be the supporting best friend type. Now, there's already rumors that are suggesting that it's going to be Norman Osborn's son, Harry Osborn. Now, a lot of this, from what I can gather, is due to the fact that he is in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. He's the character right here all the way on the right-hand side, in case you can't tell, or didn't watch it. Now, my big problem here is, how do we have Harry Osborn if we don't have Norman Osborn? Again, it was established in the last film, Norman Osborn does not exist in this universe. Now, yes, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man establishes he does, but remember, this is a variation. This is a what-if scenario of the MCU in the events of Civil War. So you can't really go with that, So I don't think this has anything to do with the Osborns personally, but who knows? Maybe they're going to throw something in here, some sort of twist. I mean, it's possible, right? But here's where things take a little bit of an interesting turn, and that's in the casting of the second character. A male character, age 30 to anywhere in his 50s. Any ethnicity, described as a no-nonsense authority figure who sees the world in black and white. Loyal, determined, and willing to cross the line to maintain order. Okay, now, if I'm to say Norman Osborn, this checks off every single mark on there. But again, how does this work? Well, everything we know about the film is pointing in two different directions. One, it's a giant Battle World Spider Island Spider-Verse film, and maybe they multiverse in a Norman Osborn, and this is what we got. Okay, let's work with that, right? And then maybe they can get a Norman Osborn that's a person of color. We know Coleman Domingo said he would love to play the character in live action as well after doing it in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, so maybe, right? Also, maybe they go for a white Norman Osborn as well. And maybe this character is brand new. I mean, ramifications of the multiverse and messing with time, maybe there now is a Norman in the 616 universe. So this could work. So now let's take this all the way back to the casting of a young person in their early 20s and somebody in their 30s to late 50s. So this does sound like Harry and Norman Osborn, right? Like when you put the two together, think about it. You bring Harry Osborn in, maybe it's a new version of the character. Maybe his name's not Osborn, Maybe it's Norman. I don't know. Give him a different name that sounds like Osborn. Same with Harry. Or maybe they had those names, but they had to change them for whatever reason. Or maybe that's an old name that he decides to take from one of his old ancestors or something. Be like, look, this ancestor of mine, they did terrible things in the 50s, 60s, or whatever. But I'm going to take that name back and make Osborn a name to be known and recognized again, right? You can easily do that, and then that works, you know? And before you ask, well, why doesn't anybody ever mention that the Osborns existed? Okay, why didn't Iron Man ever mention that Captain America was a real person in the first 2 Iron Man films, you know? Come on. You know, just suspend some disbelief here, right? To me, this would make sense. So, if you bring in Norman, and he starts also cracking down on New York, and, you know, he's like, yeah, I support the mayor. I support what he's doing. I'm also going to build up Oscorp, and we're also going after vigilantes, and the one I'm after is Spider-Man. This makes sense. And then at the same time, Peter has built a relationship with his son Harry, and this puts him closer to the guy who's painting a target on his back. I think that this story would really make sense. So, the more I'm thinking about it, the more it's looking like they're probably going Norman Osborn and Green Goblin. Now, of course, look, they did Green Goblin already, right? Twice. 3 times, technically, in 3 different franchises. Because, you know, Willem Dafoe returned in the MCU. But this would be a new version. And chances are that he's not just going to be wearing a Power Ranger suit with a Goblin helmet. Chances are they're probably, because it's Marvel Studios, going to go a full-on, maybe either morphs into some sort of grotesque creature like he does in the Ultimates, or he gets the idea of putting together a suit that kind of resembles the real Green Goblin a little bit more than what Dafoe wears. I think either one could work. So it's definitely sounding like, at least to me, that they're going for Norman and Harry. And I'm okay with that as long as it works in terms of how the characters are portrayed and that they get enough time to be built up and establish who they are, their stories and everything. I think it can really work. But again, it's all down in the execution and whether or not people want these characters. I know people are already bored of the Goblins, but again, they're going to be different. You're going to get a different version of the Goblins. So it's a new Osborn. They changed the character around. It's not the same story. They changed how he gets his powers, probably. It's fine. It can work. We're seeing it work in Insomniac Spider-Man, and nobody complains about any change in that. So, it is what it is. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So, thank you for watching, and have a good one.